Get your squad together and move out against rebel forces in Valkyria Chronicles II, the sequel to the 2008 PS3 sleeper hit. Though the new visual direction may give veterans pause, deep down you'll find the same strategy mechanics that made the original a standout. Have any unforeseen complications marred the PSP transition?
You bit me! I can't believe you bit... Why did you bite me?
Set 2 years after the events of the original game, Valkyria Chronicles II shifts focus away from the gallant heroes of Squad 7 in favor of some new recruits. Though Gallia successfully staved off the Empire's invasion, the peace didn't last long. A rebel faction hell-bent on unseating the Queen arises from within Gallia's own borders, and it's up to these new cadets to rise up and quell the insurrection before civil war consumes the entire nation.
Those bells mean you've been summoned to battle.
What? Us?
If I were you, I'd start getting ready.
Frankly, it's hard to get attached to Valkyria Chronicles 2's story and characters. The change to a cliched anime high school setting was ill-advised, and the narrative abandons much of the framework put in place by the original game. It's a step backwards that, while enjoyable at times, lacks the gripping plot and strong personalities that help distinguish the original.
You gotta be kidding me.
Though the story has changed for the worse, at least the structure remains intact. You spend a lot of your time in Valkyria 2 recruiting soldiers and participating in various missions to protect Gallia, with goals much more diverse than before. New escort and item collection missions mix things up, and maps are now broken up into smaller sectioned off areas with a scale that feels just right. And if you find the basics a bit overwhelming, the addition of an easy mode makes everything that much more accessible.
Gallian girl attacks!
All of the major classes make a return along with a few new additions. The traditional level system expands from 20 levels to 50, but it's the new job system that stands out the most. Each class has 3 tiers, with 6 different job variations in addition to the default one. Characters aren't locked into any one class anymore either, which puts a greater emphasis on individual progression. It's a welcome improvement over the original. The weapon system underwent some revision as well. You can still equip weapons to individual soldiers after purchasing and upgrading them, but now you also have to obtain raw materials to develop certain gear. Your tank has multiple body classes and artillery types to select from, all with branching paths as well. Gone is the Tetris-style grid to construct your tank's abilities, and in its place is a weight capacity assigned to each tank model. Multiplayer is available in the form of local co-op and versus scenarios, and the game supports ad hoc party for online play. Every mission in the campaign is playable by up to 4 players in co-op mode, and bringing friends along greatly increases your chances of success, even making missions a little too easy at times. Versus mode, meanwhile, pits 2 players against each other in a lengthy struggle to capture and defend bases. Despite some slight latency, the multiplayer component really strengthens the package. Marching to victory will easily take at least 50 hours, and you can log countless more in multiplayer matches. In terms of features, Valkyria Chronicles II is possessed of everything that made the original so good, and the revisions and additions only enhance the bottom line.
Enemy down!
Now's our chance! Follow them!
Combat in Valkyria Chronicles II follows in its predecessor's footsteps. You take turns with the enemy forces, each side spending its command tokens to move its team around like pieces on a chessboard. Once a piece is set into motion, the action turns real time. You have full control of your character's movements and actions, though there are limitations. Once the turn is up, you can opt to use the same unit again with a slight reduction in its mobility, or move on to another unit. So long as you have command tokens in your pocket, you can continue this process. When the time comes to take aim, the game suspends all enemy activity, allowing you to focus on your target. Shots fired can hit anywhere within the aiming reticle's range, so the closer you are, the more effective your weapon is.
Coming at you!
You can also try for headshots that deal more damage, but the trade-off is you have a higher probability of missing. Depending on how you approach a foe, there's a chance that they can outright dodge your attack or be completely taken by surprise. Most weapons follow this pattern, though few have slightly different mechanics. Tactics for each unit boil down to its class. Each has strengths and weaknesses that make it thrive in certain situations. No single class is too overpowered, something that couldn't be said for the first game. Most objectives can be tackled in a variety of ways, and the various setups support a multitude of playstyles. The way that maps are structured into smaller connected areas is initially disorienting, but it's easy to grasp after only a mission or two. Since there are base camps in each separate area, it's easy to recover from bad unit placement at the beginning of a mission. The overall effect of fighting along multiple fronts encourages lateral thinking that extends from the setup phases of a battle into the moment-to-moment fighting.
Here I go!
You'll also want to pay attention to your squad's morale, which increases as you perform well and decreases as the enemy gains the upper hand. Certain passive skills have a higher probability of being triggered when morale is high, but in practice, it's a minimal factor in most battles, unless it hits 0, in which case it's game over. On the other hand, environmental effects have a more significant and immediate impact on the battles. Various weather conditions can deter accuracy, impede movement, and generally wreak havoc on your forces.
It's an attack!
Cramming the impressive visuals of the original PS3 game into a portable format is no small feat, but the sequel manages to pull it off. Though the game is not as crisp or refined overall as its big brother, Valkyria 2's environments and characters manage to look great. Too bad the same can't be said for the animated cutscenes and dialogue sequences. The generic anime style is a poor substitute for the unique watercolor look of its predecessor.
I'm gonna get ya!
The new score falls short as well, and the voice work, while tolerable, is second-rate.
I'm trying to concentrate, if you don't mind.
Though the presentation isn't up to the original stellar standards, the core of what made Valkyria Chronicles such a breakthrough is preserved and refined in the sequel. If you enjoy the original, or just looking for a good strategy RPG, you'll be hard-pressed to do better than Valkyria Chronicles II.